Hem length, shorten coat from hem. Note, skill level must be high. You should not have to shorten a coat length since coats can be ordered in short, regular, or long lengths. Only shorten a coat if the amount needs to be shortened is relatively minor, will not affect the inside or outside pockets, and will not throw off the jacket's balance. Please refer to the wear guide to understand where the coat hem length should finish on the body. Determine how much the coat is to be shortened. Mark all around the coat with chalk the amount needed by evenly following the current finished hemline of the coat. Sew a basting stitch on this new hemline. Open the bottom of the jacket by carefully removing the lining from the hem on both sides of the jacket. Carefully open the back under the vent, but stop at least 1 inch from the vent angled top stitching. You will use this opening to complete closing the lining to the shell hem. Remove all loose threads around the back vent and hemline. From your new finished hem markings, mark down 1 1/2 inch for your hem allowance and mark with chalk all around the coat. Trim excess fabric by following your new hem allowance cut line. Turn the coat over where the lining is facing up. You're going to cut the lining a little shorter than the outer material to keep the lining from hanging below the finished hem of the coat. Smooth out the lining with the coat to make sure all the layers are flat and balanced. If needed, pin lining to waist to make sure the waist area stays in place while you are marking the lining. On the lining side, fold the lining hem section up inside the coat, measuring and pinning as you go, 1/2 inch up from the finished coat hem markings. You can raise the hem lining, mark with chalk where the coat raw hem edge and the lining will meet, which should measure 1 inch from where you have folded and pinned the lining hem. Mark with chalk 1 inch below the finished pin markings of the hem edge evenly all around. This allows enough wear ease at the bottom hem and allowing room around the hip area. If you need, use a ruler to straighten your hem markings on the lining. Cut the excess fabric from the lining at the new line. As you mark towards vent openings and at the front facings, mark with chalk where the lining hem stops. This mark should rest 1/2 inch from the finished coat hem markings. To clean finished front facings and back vent opening to bottom hem, turn coat inside out with the right sides facing together. Begin sewing 1/8 inch from the finished hemline, but stop before you reach 3/8 inch from the raw seam edge. You will use these seam margins to clean finished edges along with the lining later. Follow the same procedure for the vent openings as well. This will keep you from making your hem too short when matching the fronts and overlaying the back vents. Once you sew the facings along the hemline, trim out the facing areas, creating a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Also trim all the hem corners to reduce fabric bulk in the squared off corners. Do the same for the back vents too. Depending on the coat size, you can turn the coat right side out by carefully easing it through the vent opening. However, for larger coat sizes, it is recommended to leave a 10-inch opening in the hem to turn the coat back to the right side. Clean finish each facing section and vent at hemline. Turn the corners right side out to fold back the facing seam margins and mark with chalk on the outer shell hem where the facing will meet once the lining is sewn in. Then turn the facing and vents back to the wrong sides. Fold the lining hem at the facing seam and attach the lining to the facing. The lining should stop at the 1/2 inch mark up from the coat's finished edge. Do the same to the opposite facing side and to the upper back vent opening. For the under vent side, match the raw edge to the outer shell raw edge, right sides together, and attach the lining to the shell to clean finish hem with a 3/8 inch seam margin all the way to the front hem marked to stop with facing seam. At the back under vent, fold lining at hem seam, along with the outer shell folded at its hem mark. And sew the corner with a 3/8 inch seam margin. Start from the finished hem mark past the raw hemline and back tack. Turn the shell hem with the right sides out and make sure the lining finishes 1/2 inch up from the shell's finished hem edge. You will still leave the back under vent opened to turn coat through. Through the other open side, turn the coat right side out, pushing the hem corners of all facing outwards to create sharp corners. Button the front together to make sure the bottom hems match, and check to make sure the upper and under vents are even. Through the under vent opening, pull through the hem that is unfinished. Fold back the facing seam margins on the upper vent and front facing, and mark with chalk on the outer shell hem where the facing will meet once the lining is sewn in. Match facings to the appropriate markings to begin sewing the raw hems together. Get as close as you can to sew your seams at each of these corners. Complete closing the bottom hem with the lining, finishing with a 3/8 inch seam margin. Push finished hem back through the back open vent. Fold back the facing seams at the bottom hems. To clean finish the seams by hand sewing these seams to the hem. Back tack the hem to each seam panel to keep the hemline from falling. You can hand stitch the front hems with a catch stitch to tack up the hem. There should be no pick stitching shown through the outer shell surface. Press mark hemlines flat on the lining side. Make sure the lining finishes 1/2 inch above the bottom coat hem with ease allowed. Again, verify all fronts and back vents are aligned evenly. Finish fronts with 1/4 inch edge stitching by using your standard pressure foot or a specially edge guide compensating sewing machine foot. There are different types of edge guides to fit most sewing machines. Finish the undervent by pinning the lining to the outer shell opening. Maintain same original 3/8 inch seam margin to finish the vent opening. With right side of undervent facing up, start at the top of the vent and sew an edge stitch to close the vent while carefully catching the lining underneath, making sure the lining does not show on the right side. Make sure to back tack each end. Press coat when all is completed.